You guys have been begging me for this video for over a year now, and I've been hesitant to make it and have had trouble putting it all together because there is so much information that I could share about these two curriculums, but I'm going to do my absolute best to summarize quickly the key differences between All About Reading and IEW's PAL program, Primary Arts of Language. We're going to look at these two closely and talk about the differences in components, approach, parental involvement, cost, and their overall strengths, in hopes of not convincing you one way or the other, because I love both of these programs, but as a matter of helping you decide best what might work for you and your family. So let's get started. First, let's start off by looking at the different components of each of these curriculums. With All About Reading, regardless of what level you are looking at for your child, you are going to have the same key components. You're going to have a teacher's manual, you're going to have a student activity book, and this actually usually comes with the activity book, flashcards, magnets, although I like to get the app, which allows me to have the same magnet tiles, but in a more portable, less messy format, but that's optional. And you're going to have your readers. For PAL, you actually have a couple of different options. So they have a reading track. They have a writing track, and you can put those together and make it a more full comprehensive language arts curriculum, or you can choose to do just one. So the components are going to differ a little bit as far as which way you choose, but right now I'm going to talk about just the reading, as I feel like it would be a better comparison here. For the reading, you are going to have the teacher's book. You're going to have a student book. You can either do this as a printable or buy the physical book already printed, and you are going to have the game book. This is a very key component that you are going to need throughout this reading curriculum that will be the basis of you creating your file folder game. Another key component of the reading curriculum is the Phonetic Farm sticker pocketbook. So this one comes with a bunch of different stickers that your child will add throughout their lessons, teaching them the different phonics rules. Optionally, of course, then you do have the writing curriculum teacher's book, the student book. They also recommend All About Reading Level 1 and an Aesop's Fable book or something similar to that. But what about their approach? How do they approach the different reading styles or reading curriculums? All About Reading is a traditional Orton Gillingham based method. This one is really going to help your kids decode the words that they learn to read. It actually teaches from the very beginning that there are actually very, very few sight words out there that are truly sight words. They're oftentimes just words that we haven't learned the rules for yet. What I like about this is it equips my child to confidently go into any book and to be able to decode almost any word. Now, with that being said, that means that some of the traditional sight words that we're used to kids having and being able to read at an earlier level may not be introduced till later levels because they want to make sure they have the understanding of those rules first. All About Reading is very committed to a multi-sensory approach, so they use things like a lot of hands-on manipulatives and games and activities. They have letter tiles, review sheets, and probably one of my favorite components is their amazing student readers. Literally, I've never found anything that compares to these student readers. You start out with a strong practice in blending and learning to sound out each individual sound. And then as you go throughout later in level 1 and in 2 and so on and so forth, you will add more of those phonics rules so that you will be able to decode anything you read. On the flip side, with PAL, instead of learning to decode everything by sounding it out, there's more of a heavy emphasis on identifying chunks or different terms that they've already learned. So they introduce the ing sounds as ing, and they will learn that. And then when they look at a word, they'll be encouraged to find ing before they even start to decode and to underline or mark it in a special way. Then this is supposed to help the decoding process go quicker. This means, though, there are very few CVC words initially introduced within this curriculum, and they introduce words that are a little bit harder earlier on than All About Reading does. This means that your child might have a larger reading vocabulary, but may not fully understand the why behind each of these words till later in the program. They get there, they do cover the phonics rules, but they will introduce them and give a lot of exposure to them before they actually teach the actual rule itself. So just two totally different approaches. Both have been wildly successful. Both have helped my kids learn how to read, but definitely taking it from different approaches. They also don't introduce one chunk or one different vowel blend or whatever it might be. They don't teach one concept at a time. They introduce a lot, but their idea is to give kind of a feast of information in a lot of different formats with a ton of different repetition. Your child is able to interact with the material more and then comes out with more of a mastery approach. So with this, they are going to be learning that sound, identifying it on their flashcards. They're going to be marking it in their student pages. Then they're going to be doing their phonetic farm, where they put stickers on their phonetic farm that has the different sounds, and they're going to be reviewing over those sounds a couple of times a day. And then later on, like I said, they will introduce the different phonics rules. So just totally different approaches, but both really good. Okay, but what about parental involvement? This is a question I get very, very frequently. So with All About Reading, it is 100% dependent on you. There is really not any part of the process that is highly independent. Maybe they could play a game with a sibling or something, but it is really meant to be done alongside parent and child. The benefit to this, though, is that it is only 20 minutes a day. So you're supposed to set a timer for 20 minutes, work for 20 minutes, and as soon as the timer goes off, no matter where you are in your lesson, to stop there. This makes it very doable and a bite-sized piece that you can do with your child. It allows them to be able to practice and to learn and to have that interaction with you, and you'd have a good pulse and an idea of where your child is at and how they are doing. But it does depend on you. I don't mind this as much because it is very open and go. The teacher's book is laid out such that the words that I need to say are bolded right there. I don't have to pre-read through lessons in advance. I quickly can go in, I can read the script and go along with my child. It has questions that I can ask them for additional understanding. It has a lot of just easy accessibility to the teacher's manual, and even has little boxes on the side. If there's a concept that maybe children frequently kind of stumble over, it will kind of expound and say, hey, if they're struggling with this, try this method, or try asking this, or playing this game. And so that has been really helpful. So I don't mind the fact that it requires a lot of me because it's only 20 minutes a day and it's super open and go. So what about the parental involvement when it comes to POW? Well, it is definitely more so and yet less. Let me explain. It requires active participation from the parent for sure, but does have some independent elements. That being said, your amount of time that you spend on a lesson is definitely going to be more significant, especially if you are incorporating the writing element as well as the reading element, because it does cover more of your language arts curriculums. Instead of 20 minutes a day, you're looking at more like 45 minutes to up to an hour and a half, again, depending on whether you're doing both programs or just one. But just the reading alone usually will end up being about 45 minutes. Now, I mentioned before that PAL is heavily emphasized on reviewing, and part of this is through their file folder games. They encourage your child to sit down and play these file folder games for about 20 minutes every single day. Initially, that starts out with 100% parental involvement. However, throughout the book, they train you on how to kind of wean your child off of needing you 100% and being able to play those games with other people in your home or even by themselves. Because of that, there are elements that start out very, very teacher intensive and get a little bit less as you go throughout the program, or initially you may need to sit down and do the worksheets with your children, and then as they kind of get in the groove, they'll be able to do it a little bit more independently. So that whole 45 minutes, it's not 100% spent on teaching, but at the beginning, I would say kind of plan for that. As far as the teacher's manual goes, everything that you need is written in the lesson plans. There is the same type of thing of like the teacher boxes that remind you or help you if a concept is going to be particularly difficult. And there's just as much information in there as there is in All About Reading. However, it is unfortunately not as easy to open and go, in the sense that the words that you're supposed to say versus times when they're explaining more is not bolded. I do know that eventually they would love to redo and kind of give a facelift to PAL, and I think that's something that would probably be fixed, and I would love to see, because that would really elevate this program. It is great. I would recommend just kind of pre-reading over the lesson a little bit, just to make sure you understand where it's going and what you should be doing for the day. But all of the information is there for you. So what about cost? Everybody wants to know about cost. For All About Reading, the cost is around $160-ish for a level of All About Reading. Now, with this, it includes all of the components that you will need for a year, and something about All About Reading is that it can easily be passed down and used for multiple students. So I purchased them once and was able to use them through almost all of my kids. So that is a really fantastic option. It's an investment up front, but it's something that definitely pays off later. They do have a guarantee that you can try the program for a full year, and if you don't like it at any point in that first year, you can return it it as long as you've purchased it through All About Reading. So all of that to say, you simply send back the package regardless of what condition it's in, and they will issue a refund. PAL, on the other hand, is around the $70 mark. Again, if you're getting just the reading component, it can be a little bit more if you add on the writing or the spelling aspect to the program, but it is definitely comes in a little bit cheaper. They do offer 100% money back guarantee, no questions asked, forever. So there is less risk involved in trying IEW's PAL. That being said, it's not quite as easy, or there are certain components that you can reuse for multiple children, but it's not quite as easy to preserve and to continue to use over and over again. For instance, the file folder games, to laminate all of those pieces or to make it durable enough to hold up for multiple kids would be a lot of time and a lot of money up front. So I've never gone ahead and done that. And of course, over time, we lose certain pieces here or there. It's something we have been able to pass down, but not as fully preserved as All About Reading is able to be. So just something to keep in mind. Now let's talk about each program's strengths. All About Reading, the quality cannot be beat. I am talking extreme quality when it comes to content as well as to the actual packaging of the curriculum. The books have lasted through all of my kids enjoying reading them, going over them time and time again. They're nice, they're hardback, they're really, really well made. And even once we are done with all of the All About Readings and I pass on the curriculum, I will probably continue to keep the books because they are that good and the content is just amazing. All About Reading is also highly engaging and very colorful. If you have kids who are very attracted to colorful things or things that look really fun, then they are going to love All About Reading. I do like the fact too that All About Reading can be adapted very easily to all different learning styles. It was originally created by a mom who had a child who had dyslexia. So it is very, very, very special needs friendly. At the same time, it can also be used with totally neurotypical readers. And so I love the fact that it offers that flexibility and can really reach most of my kids. It is self-paced, which I love, which allows kids to go at their own speed. It is not grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4. It's just level 1 through 4. And so your child is easily able to complete what they can. And by having that 20-minute timer, they're not dragged on through lessons. Or if they want to go really fast and they can do that. And they just have that 20-minute marker instead of trying to get through so many lessons in a day. It really allows you to pace it right at their perfect level. And of course, ease of use is huge. Being able to just open it and go and teach a lesson, especially if you're teaching multiple kids, is hugely helpful. When it comes to PAL strength, the price point, of course, and that guarantee of a lifetime is pretty obviously a huge pro. I would also say the repetition that builds into PAL cannot be surpassed. Like, your child will get to interact with every word, every sound, every blend so many different times that they can't help but master it. And they do a great job of mixing up the methodology that your child will interact with that material in. So whether it's flashcards or worksheets, whether it's stickers or getting to do different games or activities, they do a great job in making sure they really truly understand it. And I really have found it to be a very fun and exciting time for my kids. Another huge pro of PAL is the fact that we can incorporate those other language arts components so easily. It is able to be incorporated, that spelling and that writing, being able to incorporate reading comprehension and all of those things all into one very seamlessly. It does get a little long when you do the whole thing, but it's able to be broken up throughout the day. I do love the fact too that with PAL, it is designed to be used over a 2-year period, anytime between kindergarten and 2nd grade. So what's nice again is that self-paced option of being able to take it at your child's pace. You don't have to feel like you complete the entire curriculum in 1 year. You can just kind of take it at their pace and go as fast or slow as they want. If you guys want to learn more about All About Reading, check out this video here. And these are kind of all the key things you need to know if you're new to this. And if you want to know more about PAL and what its components are and what it looks like more on the inside, be sure to check out this video here.